A clay pot as a percussion instrument. It looks bewildering and it sounds amazing. This is the Ghatam, one of the most important percussion instruments in South India. Suresh Vaidyanathan, also called Ghatam Suresh from Chennai, is one of the top exponents of the Ghatam. In fact, he plays a variety of percussion instruments like the kanjira, morsing and mridangam. He's also collaborated with top artists like Zakir Hussain, Karaikuri Mani, Shiva Mani, Bikram Ghosh and Paul Simon. This show is going to be about dazzling and unusual rhythms and the moving story of an artist who's overcome physical disability to achieve great success. Suresh Vaidyanathan is on Art Talk with me, Jujhar Singh. Suresh, I've been looking forward to this show with you. Thank you very much for joining us on Art Talk.
Thank you. It's my pleasure as well.
You're called the Pele of percussion.
Oh, thank you. I still remember the occasion. It was in one of the concerts in Bangalore, after a fusion concert, when it went beyond any imagination, success. And the audience from the crowd jumped in and called me Pele of Percussion. And that was reflected in the Rave magazine the next month.
Well, Pele's football was unconventional, full of tricks and beautiful. How do you approach your art?
In fact, probably they have noticed something unconventional in my playing as well. Because I always approach my playing as aesthetically aggressive.
Well, you have excellent sound modulation on the Ghatam, even when you're playing robust solos.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I plan it in a beautiful way to have a right amount of mix of both aesthetics and aggression. Because the listener has to have what I call Navaras expression, Navaras experience, for which I have to express the Navaras. And as much as possible, I try to
feel the 9 emotions.
Exactly.
Yes. But we'd love to hear your wizardry. Why don't you play something?
Absolutely.
Show us what your style is all about.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
It's incredible what a pot can do.
That's true.
The Ghatam is one of the oldest percussion instruments in South India. I believe there are references even in the scriptures to it.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, we have records which say that Ghatam has been mentioned even in the Ramayana. And Bharada's Nati Shastra also mentions it as a Bhandavadyam, as Dhardram. There are many names given to the Ghatam in the both Puranas and Itihasa, and also all the scriptures that followed later after Bharada's Nati Shastra.
So this is how we know it's a very old instrument.
Exactly. I mean, as old as I would say the Mridangam.
This is actually just a clay pot, but it's a specially designed clay pot. What is it made of?
True. Actually, many special things about Ghatam. One is that it's a monolithic instrument. There is nothing attached to it. It's a simple clay pot. made out of earth and clay. But for making Ghatam, the makers are very exclusive. They live in the southern part of Tamil Nadu, a place called Manamadurai. And there are different, clays with different density they find in the riverbed of Vaigai. So they mix them in a particular proportion and make a very nice paste out of it, and then stage by stage they build the Ghatam, the wet one. And then they put them to dry for a while, and then put them in the furnace. And the Ghatam takes a while to get burned. Cooked and burned, I would say, baked.
Now, which parts of your hands you use to actually play the Ghatam?
I would say all the 10 fingers, palm, the wrist, and sometimes
All
even
of
the
it.
knuckles and the nails are done. I'll show a bit of that. Both the wrists are used, which is very special for one particular school of thought.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And Ghatam is the only percussion instrument, to my knowledge, where the thumbs are used, both the thumbs. And occasionally we also do this.
With your knuckles.
Very painful, of course. And
Your fingernails as well.
fingernails as well.
And what are the different kinds of sounds that the different parts of the Ghatam can produce?
That's a very interesting question, because the Ghatam is, conventionally, in olden days, it has been called a dumb instrument because it produces a monotone on all the sides. But it is in the hands of the player that you produce a variety, but not on the keys. I would say that we make it very entertaining and soulful when you play on all the sides. For example, you can differentiate the sharpness. It's both sharp, both the sides are sharp, but still you can vary it by your the application of the pressure of the finger on either side. And this portion produces the bass. And it's very interesting to say that
That's a
we
very
have
fun sound, by the way.
absolutely. And we have two ways of producing this bass note. This is an unconventional way, they call it, but this is being used predominantly nowadays when you play the Ghatam in concerts. But the conventional way, I would say, we know what we do is open the shirt and use the mouth of the Ghatam to turn towards your tummy, and you press it with the tummy and push it.
And it produces
And
even more bass.
when you do that, you also hit the Ghatam on the neck. That's how you variate the.
So it can help a Ghatam player to have a pot belly.
And it helps, I would say. But the belly, sometimes it also obstructs the Ghatam from moving. But you need to have a little amount of belly to produce a nice bass sound.
When you play the Ghatam, you also move it in different positions. I can think of hardly any instrument where you move it around while playing it.
So actually the movement, it helps me to produce the bass note, which has when the mouth has a connection with my tummy. That's one reason. And as I move, I also do a kind of rocking with the knees supporting the rocking, which makes it kind of an entertainment for the listeners. And it goes with the rhythm. That's the interesting thing. also turn it like like a checker.
It's so much fun to watch as well.
Yeah.
A good concert instrument.
True,
But the ghatam, like the flute, cannot be tuned, right?
true.
Every ghatam has its own pitch.
The Ghatam gets a natural pitch or key when it is made. When it comes out of the furnace after baking. Each Ghatam, depending upon the distance in which it is kept from the main fire, they gain the key,
Which is purposely done.
which is purposely done.
Could you show us the difference between your two
Yeah.
ghatams over here in
I
terms
mean,
of
which is called
pitch?
this is in D, and this is in A. I'll play on this instrument now. This is very sharp in conforming to key A.
Well, I've got a surprise for you.
Please.
I've got hold of a household
My
ghara, a pot.
Okay.
And I'm wondering what tricks you can do with this.
All right, let me try. I mean,
Let's have some fun.
like we are used to only the specially made ghatams, but we don't refuse to play on. I mean, if you're surprised with a pot. Actually, it's an interesting pot. You know what? It has got a nice tone. It conforms to the top note of this ghatam, and it got a nice bass as well.
It's working very well.
It actually reminds me of the voodoo drum of the African tradition.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, the ghatam
Nice.
began in the olden times as a folk instrument in South India, Rajasthan and Kashmir.
Yeah.
Now, at least in South India, it's a sophisticated classical concert instrument.
Absolutely. I mean, this is very special about the South Indian system of music, where from folk it was adapted to the devotional music. Household devotional music was predominantly accompanied by a ghatam, because anyone can pick a household pot and started playing. And slowly people started realizing that it has got a nice tone, it can go with the melody, and now it has gone in a very big level, being established all over the world.
Suresh, your story is actually a very moving one. You were struck by polio at the age of 2.5,
True.
which left you differently abled.
True.
How have you overcome your disability to become a leading musician?
The first thing my mother noticed when she noticed that I have been affected by polio, even at that tender age, she said, nobody looks at you that you are a crippled person or you are a polio affected one. They look at you only on your face and your heart, and your heart reflects to them, your mind reflects to them, and not your body. I do not know how it got established in my mind.
How beautifully put.
I mean, she said, and she was the person who, my mother was the person who made me sit, stand, walk, and all. You know, once you get affected with the polio, you become, you don't move, you will not be able to move, motionless you become. So then my maternal grandfather, who is a musician, then he initiated me into music to give me a kind of relief from my stress. So the motivation started there, and he put me into singing. But I was showing more interest in percussion, like hitting on whatever that came to my hand, listening to some music. Then he found that I'm more attracted towards the percussion. Then he found a teacher, an amazing guru of mine, first guru, and he was Guru T.R. Harihar Sharma, who gave me the Laya platform. And then he put me on to his own son, the living legend Vikku Vinayak Ramji, who is a specialist in Ghatam, all-time great. And the Vikku Vinayak Ramji initiated me into Ghatam. I was his favorite student. He would spend hours with me despite his busy schedule and teach me all the intricacies of Ghatam. And then I went on to other gurus. But the disability was, I cannot avoid it. It was always it was pulling me down in many other aspects, like movement was disturbed. And I was equipped with music, but to go around and play and travel, all these problems were there. That's where my family came to my support. My father used to travel with me all, everywhere I go, especially internal. All over India, he used to travel with me, carrying 2 Ghatams or 3 Ghatams, even sometimes carrying me. And such things has actually have motivated me, made me very strong.
Your stories and inspiration to others.
Absolutely.
Suresh, what does music and percussion do for you?
Actually, two things happen to me. One is internal and one is external. Externally, I have to be a good performer, an entertainer, for which I prepare myself. But before that, the internal thing happens. I have to work on the music. It gives me joy. It gives me some kind of communication I'm able to make with divinity all the time. It's inexplicable actually.
Suresh, your core instrument is the Ghatam, but you play other percussion instruments as well. The kanjira, mridangam, morsing. I believe you have some. You have a kanjira with you.
Yeah, I did bring. Uh,
Let's have a
this is
look at
the
it. It's from the tambourine family.
this is the tambourine family.
Yeah.
The skin is actually the mountain iguana, mountain lizard, which is extinct now. This is a very old instrument actually. Nowadays they don't make kanjiras with this skin. So
What's interesting is that Western tambourines have several jingles. I can see the South Indian one
this
has
has
only one pair.
That's true. And the tambourine and rig and all, they have jingles all over.
Very nice. You've also got the morsing with you.
True.
Looks like a horseshoe,
Horseshoe,
but
yeah.
it plays like a harp.
Technically they call it jaws harp.
So you're holding it between your teeth, and how are you playing it?
Hold with the tip of the teeth,
Yeah.
and the vibrating string. Actually, we strike this, and the air column inside the mouth goes in and out, and that brings the tone.
I've got an idea. You've got many instruments with you, many talents with you. How about using it all together, the whole ensemble, for a dazzling rhythmic experience?
Okay, let me give it a try with the limited instruments that are available with me. I'll give it a try. Tataka din din tatam. Takaka din din takatam. Takadam. Tadingdam. Din takadra din ta din takata din tada. Didum takata dum tada. Takatadim, din tadin, takatadim, tadim ta. Tadim din da, takatadim din da, takatadin ta, katatakatakatum da, tatakatakatakatakatum da, di, gi, na, dum, takatakatakatakatum da, di, ki, ta, dum, tatakatakatakatakatum da, di, gi, na, dum, tatakatatum, 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 na, tading, 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 ta, tanding, takatatam, din, takatatam, din, takatatam.
Absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much, Suresh.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and honor to be interviewed for Art Talk.
Suresh, let's take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about your Ghatam and jazz music.
Sure.
Ghatam wizard Suresh Vaidyanathan is with us. We'll be right back on Art Talk. Welcome back. You're watching Art Talk with me, Jujhar Singh. One of the top Ghatam maestros in India, Suresh Vaidyanathan, is with us. Suresh, you've collaborated with a lot of top musicians, the pop icon, Paul Simon, percussionists like Zakir Hussain, Bikram Ghosh, Shiva Mani. You've also put Ghatam in jazz music.
Yeah, it's very interesting to say that I had this digression from classical music thanks to the mentorship of Guru Karakudi Maniji, the Mridanga Maestro, who actually took me as his companion on the Ghatam because he's into collaboration with big jazz bands like Australian Art Orchestra, and I was naturally a part of that band, and he started learning the jazz concepts basically, and Ghatam was fitting well with the tone of the bass, double bass violin, or even the saxophone or the trumpet.
You've now, in fact, created your own jazz band.
Absolutely. I mean,
with the Ghatam.
I've been traveling to Europe a lot, and my favorite musicians have invited me to form a band, and I recently created a band called Nandi, which is the name of the Lord of Rhythms, and which has an Indian element predominantly, and the jazz elements are being brought in by a bass player and also a piano player. And the album is going to be out next month, and the teaser is already on the internet.
Well, how about we use the teaser to end this show?
Absolutely. I mean,
Show them a bit of Nandi.
I would invite the Indian audience to enjoy the teaser now, and sometime later we will be bringing the live band for them.
Suresh, thank you very much for joining us on Art Talk.
Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tadin 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 tam tadin 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 tam tadin 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 tadigina to ta tadigina to ta tadigina to tagada tadigina to tagida tam tagida tam tagida tam tagida tam tagida tam. మరుబారి కోరలేదా వేరు దైవం సమానమా